Hi, and welcome to The State of Work, the podcast by Lano. I'm your host, Sandra, and as a freelancer myself who is working with clients all over the globe, I am experiencing the shift of work every day. So I'm super excited to explore the current and future state of work with you in this podcast. We will talk about the benefits, limitations, and solutions around remote and flexible work and explore many different ways to collaborate and work together. For this, I am chatting with business leaders, innovators, freelancers, and remote employees to learn firsthand how they manage their day-to-day life in an ever-changing and ever-evolving world. Today, I am talking to Sabrina Fiorin, marketing lead at kiwiHR. Kiwi is an all-in-one HR platform that focuses on helping small and medium-sized businesses to streamline their HR processes. Sabrina shared some inside scoops about the unique challenges companies are facing today and gave her thoughts on what the biggest trends and developments are in the human resource space. We also gushed about our mutual love for Munich, where she is based, and came up with a slogan for what she believes will be the biggest focus for HR departments in the future, focusing on the human in human resources. All right, thanks again for joining us today. My first question is always just so we all get an understanding of where we are and what time we're in. So Sabrina, where are you joining us from today?
So thank you, Sandra, for the invite. I'm really happy to talk to you today. And I'm joining from beautiful Munich in Germany. Today from the office, but we have a hybrid work policy, so it kind of depends every day. But today is an office day.
Yeah, lovely. I used to live in Munich, and yeah, that's definitely the place I would move back to. I love Munich, so very jealous.
Oh, nice. What was your favorite place in Munich?
Difficult. I love the oh God, what's the castle? The castle in the city.
Was Nymphenburg.
Yes,
Oh,
love
yeah.
that one for walks and going for a run and in the in the nice gardens that they have there, the park. I love the closest to the mountains, an hour to go skiing. It's pretty nice. 2 hours because everyone's going and you're stuck in traffic.
That's quite normal.
All right. Well, can you explain to our listeners today what it is exactly that you do in Munich and what your tasks are on a daily basis?
Yeah, so work for an HR software company, which is called kiwiHR. And yeah, we're specialized in helping SMBs mostly digitize their processes. So it's been quite exciting 2 years for us, as quite some things have changed lately. And I'm the marketing lead here, so I'm taking care of the activities together with my team for our markets, which are like the DACH region, France, and English-speaking countries. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like you would have had 2 very big years. How long has kiwiHR been on the market for?
It's around 3-4 years now. So
Yeah.
I think 2017 was like the creation, and then 18 the launch. So
Yeah.
a bit more.
Yeah. And I know that the last 2 years have been very special in a lot of ways. But still, I think a lot has changed, especially when it comes to how we work and how companies organize their HR departments and how to work with employees and what to offer them. You've already mentioned you have kind of a hybrid model. There's many different ways of working out there now. So what do you see from your expertise as the biggest challenges that HR departments and companies have to face today when it comes to work?
Yeah, so I talked to some clients quite at the beginning of the pandemic, and one once told me, well, I was used to really walk around the office and like see who's there, have a chat with the people, and those things kind of completely disappeared within just a couple of days. So that has
Yeah.
been quite a change for HR departments to also have that personal component of maybe really also seeing how's the atmosphere. Is there maybe something that needs to be adjusted, but also on a very practical level? Like, how do you make sure that you actually have the time the people are working on? So maybe in real time, how do you know who is available when? How do you know who is working from where? Who is in the office? Who's maybe remote? And also things like a personal file, who is like very important for HR departments, and
Yeah.
maybe you still have them as a paper in the office. So if now you have to work from home, how are you going to access that?
Mm.
So that has been a lot of challenges. Also, like the whole onboarding. Usually, of course, like you went to an office, maybe you had a little breakfast, or you met
Yeah.
like your colleagues there, and now everything has to happen remotely. So how do you even make sure that this connection is there? I feel like this is, yeah, one of the main components that now we're also noticing with the Great Resignation. So,
Mm.
of course, when people decide to leave, there's a certain level of frustration as well. And I would say that during a day to day or on a day to day basis, it's quite hard to understand how people are really doing. Also, as an HR
Yeah.
manager, maybe because you just get a minimal glance at their whole condition. Like maybe you have like one meeting and there maybe there's not even a little check-in, or there's
Mm.
not the space of really having this like personal exchange and really understanding more about the motivation of a person.
That's a lot of challenges. I'm glad that, especially the last one. I think the mental health aspect and health general well being of employees is a big thing that many companies are getting more aware of, and it's nice to hear that yeah, that HR solutions or providers also really take that into consideration. Is that something that you think needs to be included in an HR solution? This health aspect as well, and what should a solution that is appealing to the unique challenges we are facing today? What should that include?
So I think that there's aspects that a software can take over to such extent. So actually, I think that this is rather how HR should evolve, like
Mm.
having more time for people. Like for example, as a team leader, it was really important for me to like, there's a bit this HR component also in like rather management positions, to understand better like what's really a driving factor for my colleagues and how can we
Mm.
make sure that those individual needs are being implemented in a team. So for example, last year I did a certification of like a model which is used for organizational development, where I also see that many colleagues who work properly in HR are actually taking now care of those strategic topics. So I think as an HR software, we are here to take off the manual work from them so that then they can really come up with strategies and concepts which help the people. So then maybe also helping managers understand so what it is that your team needs, what can you do to solve conflicts, which maybe
Mm.
arrive with, let's take a Slack communication and you write something.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want an update from a colleague and they might take it in such a different way. Like if their need for autonomy is very high, then maybe they feel very controlled. Maybe they feel very
Yeah.
micromanaged, or maybe there's one person who really needs a lot of structure, whereas the other one is more like the type of person who needs a holistic overview. So there's so many varieties of people. And how do you manage to actually align that within a team and have like those needs of a team together with like the individual needs?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a positive way and in a constructive way where everybody can thrive and also, yeah, the company can benefit from each talent and the singularity of each person.
I love that you kind of said as the first thing to focus back on the people, so making HR and like back the human resource departments about humans again, and trying to focus on the individual aspect, but then obviously also how do individuals work together. Is that something that you at kiwiHR focus on as well, and how does your solution kind of provide help in these departments?
So our solution is rather focused on quite small companies. So it's usually the ones who have maybe 15 to 50 employees, maybe. And then the very usual case is that either the CEO goes to the HR manager and says, hey, please digitize our department. So
Hmm.
from one day to the next, they need to find a solution on how to bring all those manual processes, because we really have a lot of, yeah, clients who basically used to work with Excel sheets. Although it
Yeah.
is quite known that 80% of Excel sheets have bugs within a very short amount of time. So yeah, that's not really the ideal situation because
Yeah.
the employee journey or also the employee experience, it's getting so much more important, or the awareness is rising. And even let's say you get a payroll for your company and there's a mistake in it, I'm not sure you would be so happy about that. So maybe that's really a
Definitely
reason
not.
why yeah, that maybe you don't feel respected, or you feel like you're not important enough for the company to really make sure that this process is working well.
Hmm.
So all of those little points, like from onboarding, making sure all your inventory is there, even more if you're working remotely, maybe, to like making sure the time tracking is working well, your days of vacation are there, and you don't have to ask the HR manager 15 times a year, like, hey, so how many days do I have now?
Yeah.
Like, those are all things that also, like, for our generation and the coming ones, are getting more and more important, so that things are easy, that they're intuitive, that they're digitized, that you don't have to spend 2 weeks learning a new tool until you actually start to understand it. But our
Hmm.
approach is that within a couple of hours, like depending on the size of the company, but it's quite fast, and you can just
Yeah.
start and you have all your data there. And employees usually really like it because we also have a mobile application. So if you
Hmm.
want to stop and do a bit of yoga, or you want to just walk a bit because you notice, okay, I'm not really focused now, let's take a little break.
Yeah.
So you can just do that with the app. And those are things which I think are getting more and more important.
So I like that you mentioned employee experience. I think that's a big thing, especially when working from home or even going into a remote setup. It's becoming more and more important. So what are the? I think you mentioned your app and maybe trying to focus on taking a break and checking in with yourself and being a bit more mindful about your work and your personal experience with it. Is that one of the biggest factors of your employee experience? And what are other things that you take into consideration?
So I think that also being able to see everything in real time is a good experience for the colleagues and like for the manager, because you don't have to guess, like, what did Sandra tell me? Is she in home office
Hmm.
today or tomorrow? Or, ah, yeah, today she had a doctor's appointment, so she's starting later, maybe. Like, all
Yeah.
those things are just visible for you in real time in a dashboard. So I think that's already a positive factor, and also the intuitiveness, probably, because you just have everything at a glance, and it just makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. Just yeah, digitalizing and keeping everything accessible for everyone at all times, I think makes a big difference already. Is that something that maybe sets you apart from other HR software solutions? Or where do you see your USP? I want to say, yeah, your specialness in comparison to maybe other HR tools.
I mean, I think you know that the HR market is quite saturated. So there is a lot of great competitors with great tools. Probably, I would say that it's about the transparency and the yeah, intuitiveness. And also, what we want to do is give autonomy to the employees, so that basically they have access at all times to their data. And so yeah, it's like you're empowering them. Like, it's not this black box anymore, HR, where you don't really know. So, what happened to my days of vacation? Where is my payroll? Like, you can upload it quite easily, and you have your personal file there. And if you are, yeah, remote or wherever, you just have your data with you 24/7. So, yeah, that's kind of one thing which sets us maybe a bit apart. But yeah, it's difficult in the HR space because all the softwares are quite similar now. So I would say for the smaller ones, it might be a very good solution because we don't have an implementation fee, and everything is
Yeah.
still quite fast. Also, customer success, we have like a personal customer success manager for each market. So usually you get an answer within, not, yeah, like 3 minutes.
Oh
Uh,
wow. Yeah, that's
During
fast.
working hours. So yeah, our colleagues are like really responsive about that.
And do you also or in what sense does Kiwi? Well, I messed that one up. In what sense does kiwiHR include options for companies that are fully remote, or just generally remote employees who are distributed all over the place?
So what you can do, for example, is setting individual guidelines and checklists. So, for example, if you have a hybrid onboarding, you could define a process there as well as for the offboarding. And yeah, also about, for example, working time models. You can select very
Yeah.
individual ones. Also for absence management, like our holidays are automatically calculated. So if you're in Australia and I'm in Germany, then Kiwi knows, and the HR
Yeah.
manager doesn't have the problem to basically be aware of all the legislations and all the peculiarities of each country.
Yeah, and I mean that would be so much help, like so helpful for employees as well. Because I remember when you do your tax declaration at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, and you have to think back, okay, how many days did I take off, and how many days was I sick, and you have to start calculating how many working days are in the year. I've done that all manually, and it's not fun. So if
Yeah,
there is a
also
way to do that online,
totally. Also, because in Germany now you actually can put the amount of days that you have been working remotely or like in home office in your tax
mm,
declaration. So I just did that, I think like 2 weeks ago, and I just looked in Kiwi. Okay, so how many days did I do home
yeah,
office and how many did I have vacation? And yeah, it was quite fast, I have to admit. So that was
yeah.
definitely very useful.
Yeah, that's right. Because a lot of countries have come up with special solutions for work from home and home office because of the pandemic. So that's an amazing and quick adaptation tool to use. Then that's pretty cool. How do you identify when you come up with new features, or you've talked about customer success? How do you identify the needs of your customer base? If there's something new that needs to be implemented into your system, or a completely new topic. Everything's happening quite fast nowadays, and developments are happening very quickly. How do you identify the I guess the trends or the developments in the HR world that you might need to consider to implement into your solution?
So the feedback of our clients is very, very important to us. And there's like regular meetings between our customer success managers and the product team where they say, hey, I got this feedback that this feature would be very necessary or useful for our clients. So then we kind of collect and prioritize, but usually those features we try to implement like as fast as possible based on the
Yeah,
feedback we get. So that's like a very, very important part, of course, to also know, not like guess, okay, let's do this feature. Maybe
yeah.
nobody really wants to have that, but rather be focused on what's the need and how can we solve
Yeah.
those problems.
I guess then you would have probably a very good overview of what the future might hold, because you're right there at the core of talking to especially small businesses, because they need to adapt, and most of the time a lot quicker to adapt change in their working setup as well. So where do you see the current state of work developing into in the future?
So regarding HR, for example, I really see people and culture as the main topic, like the whole aspect of, for example, having a purpose for a company and having individual purposes and combining
Yeah,
this, like really getting more clarity about individual needs and aligning that. Like, for example, how do your needs fit into a company, into your environment, and into your tasks? And all this
yeah,
aspect of like continuous learning and finding new models, like for example, if you have this high need for autonomy, maybe your purpose would also be in having a part of a freelance activity,
hmm,
and maybe your company can also contribute from that because you're making so many experiences in those 10-20% of time that maybe you're investing in building your own project that then you can also use for the company to grow. So I think it should be also more about flexibility, like accepting every person as how they are and
yeah,
trying to, yeah, include that in a company rather than having those very strict structures where you just say, okay, this is what we do and we have always been doing that, and either you fit here or you don't. kind of this whole learning process as a company. I think that is something that will need to happen, also to fight the great resignation and the war for talent. So let's
Yeah.
see how long it will take, but I'm quite optimistic about it.
I love that. Those are beautiful closing words. Again, putting the human back into HR. I
Thank
think
you.
that's kind of how I would sum it up. That sounds absolutely lovely. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today and share your work and your passion for HR. I really appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy the Munich sun if there is any sun out there.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have beautiful sun today, and maybe I'll have a walk at Schloss Nymphenburg during the week
Yes. Oh,
and
making
think
me
of you.
jealous. Yes, do that. Enjoy what it has to offer. It's a beautiful place.
Oh,
Well,
well.
thank you again. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sandra.
The State of Work is a podcast by Lano and is available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us at Instagram or Twitter by searching for The State of Work. For more information about today's topic and links to further reading, check out our show notes at podcast.lano.io. Thanks for listening, and until next time on The State of Work.